Okay, next question. As a sensitive INFJ growing up in a household of thinker-sensors, I never really felt like I belonged. I realize I've carried this into my adult life. What can I do to move forward and create more belonging in my life? Fantastic question. A lot of INF types, a lot of introverted intuitive feeler types are a byproduct or a result of sensory thinking parenting, interestingly. So if you grow in sensory thinking household, there's usually at least one person who's an intuitive feeler. And that is the person who generally feels like they don't belong. And I don't know if there's anything to this, but a pattern I've noticed is that it tends to be the middle child, but I could be wrong. So this is not based on anything, but there seems to be a pattern around it. Anyway, with that space of growing up in a thinker-sensor space and where you feel like you didn't belong, it's because the sense of belonging that was on offer wasn't the right one for you. So these sensor thinkers or thinker-sensors, they all feel like they belong, and they were doing their best to offer you a sense of belonging in that world. And of course, you didn't belong because you're different, and there's nothing wrong with that. They just weren't aware. I'm not saying there's something wrong with you. You should have been, they just weren't aware of what they were doing, and they weren't facilitating your way of existing in the world, and therefore there was a discrepancy and you felt like you don't belong. So what can you do now to move forward and create more belonging in your life? Number one thing, if you want to get more sense of belonging with your own family, with your birth family, start expressing to them how you're different to them. Start explaining, not in a way that creates conflict, but in a way that, hey, I find it really interesting that you do these things that way, and this is how I think about those. Isn't it interesting that we're all a little bit different? So just drawing attention to the differences allows people, sensor thinkers, to get to know you a little bit better. Then the second thing, of course, that you can do if you don't want to do that with sensors or sensor thinkers is you can absolutely build a new tribe. So what that looks like is continue doing your personal development work, continue doing your integration work. Level of integration is so much more important than what type anybody is. So you can create an amazing tribe with all different types of people. They don't have to be intuitive feeler types, although they will be the ones who will get you best initially. But if they're not integrated, you will end up in bad situations with them too, because you're not sharing values or you're not sharing an outlook in life. So if you want to create a more sense of belonging in your life, find the people who have similar values to you, similar activities that they're into, similar expressions of the values, and also do your personal integration work. Absolutely 100%, because if you don't do that, if you just go to situations with people with similar values and you expect a sense of belonging, you might have it initially, but after a while, and eventually we all get into situations of conflict, because conflict is imperative in order for us to deepen our level of intimacy with people, be it platonic or intellectual or sexual or whatever type of intimacy we're talking about. You need conflict in order to deepen your level of intimacy. So it is a natural progression of every relationship to have conflict in it. And if you're not integrated, how you deal with that conflict is probably, not very effective, which means that instead of deepening that intimacy between the two of you and really having a deep sense of belonging, you go away to other directions and you still continue this pattern of not feeling like you belong anywhere. So I get that you didn't feel like you belonged in the thinker-sensor space when you were growing up. I get that, but please know that thinker-sensors can be the most loyal, supportive people if they know who you are and if they are integrated and if you are integrated. So if you want to build a tribe, if you want to have more sense of belonging in your life, look for people who share your values, an expression of those values, like an activity that they for example, if they are people of faith, they go to church. That might be something you have in common. They might be into horses. You go to competitions. That's something you might be into. Those kinds of things. And then do your own integration work and gravitate towards those people who are integrated as well. Because people who are integrated don't discriminate against intuition, don't discriminate against feeling, even if they're not intuitive feelers themselves. But also integrated intuitive feelers don't discriminate against sensors or thinkers either. So that's what I would say to that. Was that helpful? I'd love to hear back from you.